You're going to patch as you need. You're going to plug stuff in that you need as you need it, and so it's going to be independent from the room for the most part. I mean, there's no microphones outside of this. So, but how we get it to the loudspeakers is through these cables here, the AES50. It's specifically the A, but we've got a cable for both the A and the B. It doesn't hurt to connect them both. We got these cables labeled, and then back there is a mating box that's labeled identical to this, so it should be pretty easy to patch it. So we're going to plug those in and the power cable, get them patched in, and then we're going to turn it on. Incidentally, while these look like fancy cables with the shell and everything, this is still just a network cable. So in a pinch, if these cables got lost or damaged or anything like that, they don't have to be this specific kind. These are just nice, rugged locking cables. But a normal network cable is all that's inside, and it will still plug in here. It'll still plug in the mixer. So. So this is kind of the front end of the system. The back end of the system is in the cabinet over the electrical closet. There aren't any user controls over there. I guess when we're done here, I'll kind of walk both of you guys through there. Maybe you want to bring the camera over. We can kind of go through that when we're all done. Sure. At the top of the display here are some indicators that let us know that we are properly communicating with the rack back there. We're connected through the cables we just connected. We're sending audio back and forth between a box that's in the rack there. All these lights up here are lit up green, specifically the A light and the 48K and this USB. All those being lit up tells us that we're communicating with the mixer back there, or excuse me, the stage box back there. I'm going to, so everything you learn about the mixer over there applies here. There's no real, because we don't have a lot of inputs that we're juggling here, if you plug into one, you're on channel 1. The only thing that's kind of special to know is that the sanctuary feed that's coming in is hitting the stage box over there. So instead of plugging directly into the back of the mixer, it's plugged in there. So we need to tell the mixer that we want to listen to those channels instead of some of the channels here. This has 32 mic jacks on the back and 32 channels. Well, we're going to substitute 8 of these channels for 8 of those channels. And I've already done that for you guys, and I've put it on the last 8. This is all done in banks of 8. So we've taken those 8 of those channels, and we've put them on the last 8 channels on the board here. So right now they're labeled Sanctuary, and probably before we're all done, I want to go through all the motions and play something from there, and then we come in here and listen to it and experience that it's all happened. But for the moment, you can take my word for it. I've got my iPad here so we can play some music through another channel. So effectively, these channels, since we have these assigned here, the 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, these are no longer, in fact, if you look closely at them, they say A03, A04. This is telling us that they're on the AES50 A bus. And no, these don't have that, if you see, because they're on the native XLR connectors. This is indicating that we're picking it up off of a different location. So all of these 8 are coming from over there. So if I plugged into 32 here, I'm not going to hear anything. I'm not going to see anything metered. 24, I would, because it's not patched in the same way. So let me get this plugged in. Okay. so I'm coming in 24. Got a little bit something going on there. I can turn it up. So we're not dealing with multiple buses here. Everything's just going to the left, right. Yeah, plug it in. So the only catch is that bank of 8 picking up the sanctuary. If I can show you how that stuff is, your typical user, maybe it's not best for them to know that you can do all this stuff, that you can repatch these things. So you can show that off camera, however you tell me. But in any case, this can be, we can tell the system, we want this to look at the local channels, we want to put it somewhere else. Kind of the open use of this board, it seems like the most practical place to put it. To that point too, Richard just told me that there is an access hole that would allow cables to be brought from the stage over to that stage rack. So if you were to determine that you did want to do some of that, well, then you start picking it up. You're going to have now 3, channel 4, channel 5 through 8. You need to go to 9 through 16. That what I just mentioned, how we can patch that, and you can pick those up at another block at 8 elsewhere. So that function is there. You might not be as convenient as having your jacks right there on the stage, but 50-foot cable and your plug-in. So, great. Okay. Any questions? Pretty easy.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, this way you can refer back to it. So here on this routing button here, there are all these tabs. The very first one that comes up is the inputs. So they're done in blocks of 8. So inputs 1 through 8. So these channels, by default, it's on local 1 through 8. The second chunk is on local 9 through 16. The next chunk 17 through 24, and the fourth one would normally be 25 through 32, but I've assigned it to the AES-A 1 through 8. So that's more or less where that got picked up. So we could go back and revert that to 25 through 32 and maybe put that on the first 8, if that makes sense. So none of this is permanent, it's all flexible. Typically speaking, you're not going to want to change it. You're going to want to settle these things in so you don't have, the fewer variables, the better. When I was in the recording studio, kick drum is on 1 every single time. Cymbals are on 7 and 8 every single time. It's one less thing I have to pick up. So there's that, and then I guess I'll give you a quick tour of the rack in there just so you can see what it is. We'll be done. Go ahead. Okay, so just a quick tour of what's in here. There's really no user configurable things in here or anything like that, but this is the DSP. This is just a network patch panel, which is collecting the physical inputs over there, and then we're patching them into the network switch here. And then this is the stage box that I mentioned. These are the very 2 wires that are the sanctuary feed into the system. So if you were going to have other feeds coming in, you would just continue to plug them in here. This is that first bank of 8, second bank of 8. The whole system is really being fed off the left-right bus. Initially, we were it was specified that we were going to give you separate sub feeds and so on. We're not doing the sub feed; it's all derived from the left-right bus. We have an ALS feed that's coming in here. I guess I forgot to mention that when we did the board, but you don't have another ALS transmitter. If you were to acquire one, we've got a feed ready to go for that. Same thing for monitors. We have a couple feeds kind of ready to go for that right off of this box. So we'll populate this with a couple amplifiers, and you've got monitors ready to go if you want to get that going. And I think I've got these routed to monitor to bus 1 and 2, that kind of a thing. So they're all kind of ready to go. And then here's the 4-channel amplifier. The DSP and the amplifier talk to each other over a network. So they're network connected. Same holds true up in the sanctuary. They're not tied together over the network. They're their own little isolated thing, but that's how everything is connected. So there are no direct analog connections on the back of this amplifier. And they're to get this audio into another amplifier takes a little bit of reconfiguring to make all that happen. That said, all this stuff is reliable. We literally run hospital paging systems off of this stuff that runs 24/7. Huntington Arena in Toledo, we run all that stuff off this exact same platform, these exact same kind of amplifiers. ours. So it's all very reliable stuff for big, you know, mission critical kinds of things, that's how I'm sure you view your Sunday services, right? So that's important. So that's it. Again, not a whole lot to do in here. If anything, you're gonna just plug stuff in here and then make some control adjustments back there.
Yeah.
And that's it.